Welcome to the Everton Aren't We Podcast. My name is John. I'm joined by Graham and Andrew, and we're just going to do the weekly rundown of all the talk that's been going around the club this week. So, first of all, we'll just start with some of the latest news that came out sort of earlier today. Dele Alli looks like from the outside in, he seems to have gone AWOL. Now, what's happened was he's been given time off by Besiktas, and he hasn't returned yet, the manager said. Graham, is there more to this that we don't know? Do you think there's something else going on?
You would have to assume so. Don't think it's our place to judge. From looking from the outside and just seeing him briefly at our club and just the decline in Dele Alli as a sports personality, as a footballer, from what he was to what he is now, you can't help but assume that there must be something.
Yeah,
I think no one would disagree with me. It's quite tragic and quite sad to see a talent so good end up this way. But Gunez has been talking a lot of crap about him. He's very blunt and very honest.
Yeah. Been quite outspoken.
Maybe at too much. They compare closely what's going on at home. You could maybe say the way Conte is putting it into Spurs, but maybe not that aggressive, but he does definitely speak his mind.
Yeah.
But what I will say is Dele Alli's just a person, and it seems he's a very fragile person. You push someone enough, you give someone enough crap, they can break or they can have enough. I'm pretty sure if my manager was publicly hounding me out on things, I wouldn't take too kindly to it. So
yeah,
if it wasn't the case, would I go AWOL? I'm not saying that's right, but I probably would, to be honest. The people call footballers prima donnas, dramatic divas, all that's fine. It comes with a crazy fashion and the expensive cars and the massive bank balances and the multiple houses. Yeah, but you know what? They still do have power, and you can't really fault them. But then at the same time you can, because there's a level of professionalism you have to have. You project you're only as good as what you project, and he's not projecting himself quite well. One thing I will add though, and it might just be stealing a bit of your thunder on a future point, is though I can't help thinking is that how like every player that's not playing for Everton is better than every player that's playing for Everton.
Yep.
I'm just sort of thinking the way our midfield's been bred. Now we're not playing great. I don't think I've mentioned this much in the pod, John. I've found myself dozing off watching Dice's teams a few times, and that's been a big debate on Twitter alone. You see people going at each other. When we click, when that message gets through to those players and they click, we look quite decent going forward at times. I don't mind it, and we're scoring goals, so we can enjoy that. But when sort of they're just moseying around in second gear, it's just the eyes are closing. But I can't help but think, and where Decore's doing it, they switch it up. Don't get me, Decore's our new informed player that everyone's loving again. I think options are there. I'm very critical of Decore, and I will continue to be so. But you can't help but think, would Dele Alli be good breaking? Would Dele Alli be a fantastic target man? They switch it up from just Tarkowski in a corner.
Yeah.
You just dare to think to yourself.
You think about like with Gray up top there, and the way he likes to drift out wide.
You could have Dele in the false. Yeah.
Like if he drags the defender and Dele Alli runs into the space, it would be.
But you could have Dele Alli in the false as well, which gives you Gray as an extra wing option. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you're looking at it now, who's going to be used and what's going to be used. But also, Sean Dyche is somebody who's come out and says he won't make a sub just for the sake of it. So, yeah, fair play to him.
It's a tough situation. Yeah. Apparently, what's happened with Dele Alli is Andrew hasn't been paid his wages, and he's owed about 135,000 as a bonus, so which he's entitled to, and he hasn't been paid that yet. So that's probably why he hasn't turned up for training there. But could you see him working under Dyche at all?
Hell no. Not because of that, just because Dyche seems like somebody who values effort on the training pitch, and Dele seems the opposite of that. Like, I think he kind of fancies himself like budget Ronaldinho, where he can just show up on Friday, ready to play Saturday.
Alan Iverson
through the week, and he's not.
Just on Andrew's point there too, it was Mourinho that absolutely flayed the skin off his
live on Netflix. He did it as well.
Well, no, I think it was the Amazon Prime, wasn't it? All
Amazon
or nothing.
Prime, yeah, sorry.
And it was basically just said to him, you can't coast. You have to work hard. Whereas Pochettino just let him be him because of his raw talent.
Mm-hmm.
If you're just going to be able to play under one manager, sorry, Andrew, but yeah, that's not the first time we've heard all that. And I agree with your point there, Dice.
And not that Ali isn't known to be lazy, because we just talked about how he was, but professionalism cuts both ways. If you're owed wages, regardless of how well you play, if that's the terms of the deal, of just appearances gives me this much money, then you should pay me that money or I will fuck all the way off, which seems to be what's going on.
That's what's happened, yeah, pretty much. People will just look at Dele Alli.
But the coach says he doesn't like the rain, so.
Yeah, well, yeah, even though he's from here, like.
What was that like?
Right.
Yeah, maybe, it was backhanded at a case of you're too busy tanning all day, and you have to play devil's advocate with these things. So maybe they're saying you're enjoying too much of this lifestyle, which is something that is alien to him. London, whether you like it or not, it is a metropolis. It's one of the major cities in the world where it's like everything's there, and there's 5 of them. So so maybe
what I will say about Dele Alli is as well is he doesn't seem to thrive under those old school type managers who are just blood and thunder and everything. He doesn't work. Like Mourinho, it didn't work, and we've seen a Lampard. He got a little bit out of him for maybe 1 or 2 games, but that's about as best as you're gonna get. But going back to like what I said earlier about Dyche, we'd like to think it could work based on like the formation that we play and how Dyche likes to play. But is Dele Alli gonna, embrace Dyche as a manager? And I just can't see him. Just but again, Andrew, we touched on last time, the impact that Dyche is trying to look into with Calvert-Lewin with his mattress and stuff. So I'm hoping that he could do something similar with other players. Do you know what I mean? And just that type of.
Does Dele Alli need a new mattress?
No, he needs a lobotomy. I don't think
he needs something. He needs pain. That's what he needs. But yeah, moving on then. And we found some stadium news this week. Been doing the round. So Everton and Orlando Rourke, the contracts are set for completion around about December 2024. The club are yet to confirm a date to finally move into the stadium, but we don't know if it's going to be a mid-season thing or whether it'll be the end of that season. But if it's ready, Graham, mid-season, would you jump in straight away?
Yeah, I would. I think, and a lot of people are saying, I don't know, in the group, it's very split. Well, I think it's me against everybody else. I'm just sort of in the mindset of the only thing that's working at the minute that's kind of going well at the club realistically is the stadium. And I think, that liaison who's going between the club and the stadium would have some hand in how do we transfer season ticket move across, all that sort of thing. Them allocations, or would it be temporary to the end of the season, because it's not going to be restricted viewing at any point. So if you get a like for like, it should work in theory. I can't imagine it being too much. Yes, it might take a bit of the glitter, and yes, we can do a whole build up over the summer, and that is complete Bill Kenwright pantomime, by the way. That is that's what he lies in bed at night when he needs to get to sleep and thinks about and does. He drags that out. That's no 2-minute thing.
He's too busy worried about the safety certificates, if I'm honest, mate.
But ultimately, why not? If that is one of the main sources of revenue, that's if they're all about ticking boxes and getting something done to move on, do it. Don't see the point in it. Yes, the emotional goodbye to Goodison, but the same thing can be done, in my opinion. And yes, I'm not from Liverpool, so you can say whatever you want about it, but my opinion's still valid because that's what it's all about. And realistically, you can say goodbye to Goodison in November the same way you can say goodbye to Goodison in May. To me, it doesn't matter. Get up and move on, because it's all going to break our hearts leaving Goodison. Geez, it broke my last time it was over. I said I got 1-2 more visits to Goodison before we leave there. Yeah. If it's in this time scale, realistically. Yeah. So no, that's That's more
Depends how they do it.
hurts me a lot. Do you know what I mean? But ultimately,
Mm-hmm.
it's what way you want to look at it. Yes, you'll miss the old lady and blah blah blah, and they'll have the legacy project. That's all good. But at the same time, like you want to look forward and enjoy what's coming. Why not get in there next? Jesus Christ. The amount of different spots have sat in Goodison, and I swear to God, the majority of them, you just think the money you're paying for this fucking view on this experience. Do you know what I'm saying? Though?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, I get you. It depends how they do it. Like they could, mess it up like really, really big with the ticket situation. Like, how is that going to work halfway through the season? Do you know what I mean?
But in theory, just on that, because that's the thing that's being thrown out, and I'm just sitting wondering, going, hold on a second, right? Well, you basically map. Surely you would just like say for instance, the Park End, because that's just one tier, and basically that's what's going to be near enough around all Bramley Moore. But you would just map that out and just set it into it. Surely they have a program that'll just show, and they'll say, look, this is your ticket now to the end of the season. It's near enough the same as what you're experiencing at the minute in the Park End, and just tier that the whole way up and just say, look,
I think it's more to do with the price, and I think
you can't sit and throw your toys out of the pram. Again, in my opinion, you disagree, don't care, but ultimately, you just get plastered onto a seat near enough the same view in the same area. And that's where they work it, and then they can just open the rest of the tickets open for sale to anybody else. It shouldn't be that hard. Yes, it's Everton. Yes, they could fuck up late in the match. Let's be realistic. But ultimately, it shouldn't be that hard. It just goes over a list of seats, boom, straight over it, and you should be able to go on there and go. So you are. But that's a Wool who only goes to the match a couple of times a year. But you don't need to be anything or any sort of rocket scientist to realize that it's not that hard, really, is it?
In theory, it could work, but
so it's all about the letting go. But why not just look at the taking hold? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Be proactive. So I don't know.
Yeah, it could work.
What's your thoughts, John? What's your thoughts before moving on to Andrew?
I mean, in theory, yeah, it could, like the whole New Year thing where you've got a fresh start at New Year. That could be nice. But I think for me, I would like to see it done at the end of a season in the pre-season. I would like to see it properly. Like I would like
Right vision.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Spurs did it.
Spurs did it halfway through, but then they struggled for a good while. So maybe
they left the lane at the end of the season, and they played Wembley, and then did that.
Yeah,
but you're always going to struggle because there's a new pitch. Even that pitch as they break in and everything, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
or whatever it is you do with a football pitch, it's soft, and for whatever it is, I'm not a gardener, but
I would put all of our pre-season games that season. I would forget going on tour and stuff. Just put all of our pre-season games in the new ground.
They will. We'll have one game on it. So why not just go there and get a half a season and pray we're all right?
Absolutely.
Just do it. That's my opinion only. But I'm a very sentimental way of things. I don't keep a lot of places, so I'm not that worried. Like I have a guitar.
Andrew, yeah. No, I know what you mean, mate. Andrew, what's your thoughts on it, mate? Because we put out a poll, didn't we, the other day, and I think it was like 86% that voted to do it at the end of the season. What do you think?
Financially speaking, as soon as humanly possible, 10, 15,000 extra seats gives you a massive gate increase immediately, not to mention concessions and all that, and tourism, whatever else they can charge you for. That could have a direct and immediate impact on maybe even the January window, depending on when it happens. So I think, pragmatically speaking, you must jump as soon as possible. That said, because it is the oldest standing ground from the jump, you got to give it the proper send off with all the sentimentality that comes along with it. And also gives me more of a chance to go over there. So take your fucking time.
Yeah.
I'll retract then. Yeah. Get Andrew over first, then move.
Big time. What annoyed me.
All right, Andrew's here. You can move on. Denise, you have our approval.
Sky Sports, when they put it out on their news, they said proposed new stadium, like it isn't half built. What the fuck? That was weird. Just moving on then. Niels Nkounkou, on loan at Saint Etienne, has been called up to the French under-21 squad for games against England and Spain. Really, really nice for him, and a nice achievement for him as well. But I got us thinking about the whole left-back debate. Andrew, do you think if Niels Nkounkou was a Brighton player perhaps, or somebody else, that we'd be fawning over this hot prospect, and we'd say we have to sign this guy for 20 million?
No, it would be just like what Gray said. It's the best Everton players are the ones that aren't available right now for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Also, I don't fancy him as a Dyche player. Too much flair, too little defensive nous. Not that can't be improved. I mean, so many young players have ceilings that we have no idea how high they are.
Yeah.
But as it stands right now, I don't think Dyche is a big, like, let's use the youth, unless his hand is absolutely forced by a very underperforming Frenchman, perhaps.
Yeah.
And we saw how long it took for that to happen.
Yeah.
So I think he trusts Mikalenko's instincts. Even if he still has mistakes in him, I think he's more of a natural defender than Nkounkou will ever be.
Yeah, that's a good show, to be fair. He's out of contract at the end of next season, so it's kind of like make or break next season. Graham, the club just haven't known what to do since Dean's left. You know, we played Kenny there for a bit, and Godfrey, and obviously Vinagre, who's on loan, who just isn't even getting any minutes. So would you just sit him on the bench next season behind Mikalenko, or would you like to see him get a few games next season?
For Nkounkou, I reckon he's going to be sold. He's a dead end. I assume he's going to be a source of finance. He's not been loaned out this last while for development, in my opinion. He's been loaned out to try and find a bit of form to sell him. And in terms of the whole left back thing too, you know, you get it just lit up. I was very sick over the weekend and half of this week, so I was sort of opening opening one eye and looking at my phone and just seeing you guys lighting up on Everton, going, I'm sick enough to be talking about Everton. But yeah, just on all that, because I've seen you'd mentioned the car button stuff, and he was a player under Martinez that came in and looked against Wolfsburg and looked an absolute carbon copy of Leighton Baines, and we're like, wow. But and Martinez just decides to fire him a 5-year deal and like 40 grand a week.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: our club don't develop youth very, very well at all. Not one bit. Like literally, like, and Anthony Gordon was like rolling a dice, one dice and getting a 12. Let's be realistic. He's a decent young player, like, but he's not a 40 million pound player, let alone a 60 million pound player. So we got really lucky because of his work rate and the fact that Ted Bowley wanted to buy him for 60 million because he's a maniac in his own right. But see, ultimately, it's like we always talk about teams, you know, teams Everton collapsing like a house of cards.
Yep.
Well, see, with these youth players, they all have ability. You know, you look at a player like Maupay playing lower league and stuff in Leicester in the Championship and stuff, and he's sitting on the bench in promotion, you know, things. But then all of a sudden he gets up in the Premier League and something clicks under Ranieri, and it works. And he's able to play that repetitive in a system that aids him, that people can see the sort of player he is and has to play in, you know, that system. And he grows, and then all of a sudden the door closes under him, and his base level has just raised. And that's his progression and his growth in football. And then it happens again and happens again. He goes to City and learns a new technique on everything he's learned, all those core fundamentals at Leicester, and under Pep he takes him next level again, albeit he was a Premier League winner at Leicester. But do you know what I'm saying? So these youth players have to be built up very carefully in systems that suit them. Again, you could talk about Tom Davies. Ronald Koeman, in my opinion, destroyed Tom Davies. Such an exciting footballer. Yeah, you've seen him sort of. He could have been that number 8. He could have been a 10. He could have just been an old-fashioned midfielder that could break and tackle and everything. And these managers just all messed him about and just put him in the really odd positions. I remember the maddest one, I think, is he played like a Christmas tree formation or something at Anfield, but he played Barkley and Davies just off Lukaku, and it looked absolutely shambolic. Yeah, I don't think Davies. I think that was the turning point with Tom Davies. The point I'm waffling on about here is that these youth players, they're all talented footballers, and they can go on to be top class players. You think if Leighton Baines hadn't left Everton as a schoolboy and went somewhere else, or followed Jagielka, that they'd have risen at Everton to be that level of player at Everton? No, in my opinion. You have to go away and you have to go away and do it in the system that works, or your parent club has to work you into their system and actually nurture you to grow to be a better footballer. We just got lucky with Nkounkou. where he was Cardiff, wasn't it? He was at.
Yeah, he was at Cardiff for a bit.
Yes, he was at Cardiff, and he's playing some games and stuff. But then St Etienne wanted him, and he wanted back to France. Let's face it, he didn't want to be in Cardiff.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want to be in Cardiff.
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, he's went over there. He's in his surroundings. He's close to home, and he feels good about himself. And he's able to build up. He's in a league that suits where his ability is. He's not. Yeah. He's not punching above. He's not a middleweight fighting a heavyweight in the Premier League. Because let's face it, you're coming in to fight at heavyweight in the Premier League. So you either sink or you swim. You know what I mean? And it's all about growth. And these players need to grow. These youth players need to grow. So we don't develop kids well. And that's why so many youth has came through. Like I was thinking about loads of our youth players that were all supposed to be the next big thing and didn't get a sniff. Even guys like John Paul Kissock and
just loads.
All these guys that you spoke about. So it's all about the care and the environment. But our like we've James Vaughan now setting that up too. It's everybody's still going to go to Tranmere or Preston. You know what I mean? Or maybe Ipswich, who knows? But ultimately, I think it's just luck. It works. Like Nkounkou will do that over there. I don't know if that floor is going to close in underneath him where his ability is raised because of that confidence he's gained over there. I think that confidence will stay over there. I don't think it'll come back. I really, really don't.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're just shy at managing young players, and I think Niels Nkounkou at the same time got very, very lucky, and it's worked out well. And if he has any sense, he'll stay there because he's not a very good defender. He's not Premier League quality, and I wouldn't have him in my Everton team. And that's a team that has Ben Godfrey and Vitaly Mykolenko at left back. I'd still have Godfrey ahead of Mykolenko, so that I think that says it all. But do you know what I'm saying? That says it all, in my opinion. My opinion's only one thing, but
it's just not at the right situation for him. This is why he's, he wouldn't have got that under-21s call up if he was still here. Let's face it. And same way Andre Gomez is doing well now at Lille as well.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Again, it's a level down. It's a bit slower. Like I know you do watch a bit of French football, Andrew. You've seen him. I think you've mentioned you've watched him, or Andrew. Sorry, John. And you've mentioned you've seen him a couple of times. Would he have done any sort of job against Saka against Arsenal at the Emirates?
No.
He'd have been distraught. That whole side would have been void, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Not doing him any good in that situation either. No. So yeah. Andrew, what's your thoughts on Niels Nkounkou? Do you think there is a spot for him besides Mykolenko, or in the cups maybe, or would you like to see us cash in, as Graham says?
I'm thinking more about Dyche. I don't think he's the type to keep like a plan B in store. It's more of this version of plan A isn't working. Let's get the player who's more in form right now and swap them out and keep the same game plan. Yeah. I don't think he's the type to say, okay, now we're going, full on firefight, committing everybody in front of the halfway line. That's just not really him. Yeah. So I think he'd rather get somebody who is more like Mykolenko, but better, rather than somebody who provides an entirely different look.
Yeah, that makes sense, mate. That's fair enough. It's a shame because I was quite excited for him. He got some game time under Ancelotti and he looked really good. And albeit it was in the cups, like against the likes of Fleetwood and what have you, but he looked okay.
But do you not remember too, John, in those games, I think every Everton fan was screaming it. It was the classic example. Like everyone looks at Bale for the example. Just take him out of defence.
Yeah,
he breaks at rapid pace and loves to roll the ball just right in between the 6 and 18-yard line. Yeah, he was doing it in those cup ties. He was fantastic at it. Why not just say to him, "You're a winger, mate. Regardless, you think you're a fullback, you're a winger, and we're going to use you as a winger, and you're our employee for the next 3 or 4 years. You actually got quite a handsome signing on fee, I believe, and wage." Yeah, this is what we're training you to do. After your contract, you can go and do whatever. Get in there and do that. Yeah. Because if he's not coming on defensively and he's not the level, but he has everything going forward, you would have thought that Everton would have tried to utilise him better. I think that's something that they should do with young, rapid players if they cannot catch up. Because people, and don't get me wrong, all around every position is an art, but people tend to forget that defending is an art. Defending is one of the toughest arts in football to get, you know.
It is,
Yeah, any moron will go in the defence in a pub side and just like run around and be out. But you can tell if someone's on it by one glance before you blink if they're a defender or not. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
So if they're not up to it,
ironically, he might have worked well in Lampard's 5 at the back thing, possibly. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Lampard didn't even work in Lampard's 5 at the back. Let's face
that
it.
is very true, actually. That's true. Yeah, it's a shame, but if we can get something for him, I think that's the situation that we're at the minute. Is I don't think any player is off limits, including I know Pickford's just signed a new deal. Maybe him as the exception. I don't think anyone else is unsellable, in my opinion. Including all the youth players as well. So,
John wants to sell Onana.
I don't want to sell him. I mean, put me under the spot here. To be fair, with Onana,
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, no, I don't think anyone is untouchable. I really don't, because they're not. It's not like
100%.
pulling up any trees. Do you know what I mean? So
Not even Pickford. If someone comes in now with an excessive transfer bid, like imagine fucking Spurs, it's always them. Imagine they come in now and we're just like, oh, we want Pickford for 30 million. He was 30 million with a year left on his contract. He is 70 million now, England's number one. If they paid it, the club would think about that. The club would quite possibly sell him.
Yeah,
so
maybe, yeah.
Contracts mean nothing. It's just the length dictates the worth. That's it.
Yeah. It's just a shame that the club, well, it's not a shame, it just shows the incompetence of the club once again, because after Dean, what was the plan for the left-back situation? Mykolenko is entirely, as Andrew's just said, different kind of player than what Nkounkou and Vinagre is again. So there's no, like, what do you want? What are you trying to identify as your left-back? We don't even know. So, as you said, we've seen Garbut, you know, and we even had Cuco Martina there for a little bit. Jesus. But
Jesus Christ.
honestly,
even at that as well. But you look across that whole pitch, there is no plan. There is no plan. Alex Iwobi was not planned to be our number 8 in midfield. And Vladimir Kore was in the bin, yet now he's our informed player. Ghana brought him back and refused to say that replaced stupid Stipend. Does my head on. Oh, we replace him. But, you know, Ghana, is he the answer now? A slower version of Ghana when we need the Ghana from 3 years ago? You know,
I know what you mean.
Tarkowski and freed the plan for where we are in our project. Is Connor Cody on loan the plan? Seamus Coleman, our backup right back, is he 20-year-old Nathan Patterson, who's 3 major ankle and knee injuries since signing last year. So, and
by the way, he got called up again for international duty. Can't wait to see what his tendons look like tomorrow.
It's a good thing I like watching Seamus Coleman. Again, Damari Gray is working on the plan. And then there's the case of Neil Maupay. Is he part of a plan? No. So there's no plan. And that's the problem with this club and this board and everything. There's no plan top to bottom. So from youth players, we're talking about the Dele Alli, the fucking this, that, and the other. There's no plan. It's clueless. Jesus.
So just moving on then to some other news then regarding some players and new deals and things. So Alex Iwobi is in advanced talks with Everton over a new long-term deal at Everton News with the keywords coming from Fraser Fletcher, who's a decent journalist, I've got to say. He's not bad. So he says new long-term deal. All now positive as things move closer to him committing to his future at the Blues. Graham, he's made 128 appearances for the club and he's started all 28 games so far this season in the league. Are you happy he's getting a new deal? And ideally, what would that deal look like? How long would it be for and such?
I sort of swerve this every time I see it, to be absolutely honest.
If you put yourself in Thelwell's shoes.
What age is Iwobi again?
26.
26. He's coming into his prime. People can say he's been crap for years. Yeah, again, we talk about systems and playing players and where it suits them. You know, we only seen the best of Iwobi because that system suited him. I thought he started the season very well. His first 6-7 games, I thought he was brilliant. He's still got a pretty high assist count. I think he's our highest assister.
Yeah.
I don't know. Who we get next? You know, you could say I still think our midfield's very unbalanced. I'm not saying it's his fault. Just you can point a finger at all of them. You know what I mean? It's sort of like that Spider-Man meme where they're all pointing at each other, but you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, you could find faults in every single one of them, but I would give Iwobi a new deal. Yes, I would. I think he's one of our very few creative footballers for midfield. It's sort of like Corey sort of just trunches forward, and he's in a bit of form now. You see that even though it's just a first time pass on there to Ellis Sims the other day, but you know, ultimately, if his form goes up, he will get more in the flow and more natural in his play. But like Iwobi's been doing that for a lot longer, so as a playmaker, he's the closest thing we have to one. People disagree. It's fine, but
not just his forward game, mate. His defensive. He's one of our most important defensive players.
Like I remember he came on the 6 and everything this season. He was absolutely brilliant in there as well. It really suited him playing under Frank Lampard, albeit he's gone. But look, he's been starting every game for Daesh. I know the pool's not that big, but I think he's been improving. I really, really do think he's been improving. He does have the moments where he switches off and tracking back, but I think now he feels like he's allowed to be more attack minded. I haven't seen Sean Dyche give him any shit really. I don't really. I think he was slung against Villa, was he?
Possibly,
I think he was taken off, but I think he had a knock or something. I can't remember, but maybe it's Onana. I can't remember, but like ultimately, I just think Iwobi, whether you like him or not, and everybody loves to scream their hit. You know, he's one bad game. You've all the "I told you so's" coming out, and then he's one good. And me and my posse are sitting giving you the whole, yeah, well, we told you so. You know what I mean? But look, there's a player in Alex Iwobi. You know, I would have him there still. He's coming into his prime. I think as it stands, where we are and what our transfer business is like, a lot of people forget that where we are financially as a club, we're due to be in the shits again next year, apparently. And ultimately, I think we're better with them than without him at this current time. Because at the end of the day, Iwobi's not going to be here for like another 7 or 8 years, I wouldn't imagine. You know, but for the next 3 or 4 years, while we're still transitioning, I think we're better with him. So, in my opinion, without going too much more into it, I have him. Yeah,
I think he's a useful player. I think he's key for that right hand side now. I think him and Coleman. He's, as I said in the last podcast, he is prolonging Coleman's career by his defensive work and his output. I think he had like 6 recoveries last week or something. So his defensive work is great. I just wish that he would get a couple more goals because he's got the ability to shoot. I just like McNeil's starting to do now. Just hit it, because I feel like he can do it.
It felt like but no one was doing it, and again, then you have to question the coaching and other things. Like no one was just hitting it. You know, were they under orders not to just lash at the ball because you're going to lose possession?
Yeah,
you know, some of that real mundane possession play we've seen under Lampard. Whenever he tried to do it, they were afraid they just had a ball from anywhere and have it go missing. So just give him a chance. I don't know. Well, people will say he's had enough chances, but he wasn't really used. Pile of mixed bag of managers. His head was down. The fans just were completely against him if he were to go by percentages. So I don't think he was having a great time here. He's really enjoying it now. He can be himself again. He's been our best player, outfield player for the last season and a half. We'll say maybe for the last calendar year, we'll call it.
Yeah.
Or even just year and month to month now, sorry, not calendar. So I just don't see why you wouldn't have him in there. You know, I think he can do a bit more than most. And again, you talk about the work on the right hand side. He's versatile, as he says. He can play in the 6, he can play in the 8, he can play in the 10, he can play in the 7. He can play, you know, all on that right hand side, and he can play at wing back. I don't think he's good in a flat back four. Every time he's there, he's completely caught out. But again, he will go in there. He's a utility man. There's a lot of players that managers won't even ask to do the utility job because they just won't.
Yeah.
But he's willing to put on that jersey and fight for it. He says he loves it. So just love Alex Iwobi like I do and leave him alone, please.
A lot of people will probably say, well, he's had like 3 years or whatever it is, and how much we pay for him, like 30 million, 40 million, and we haven't recouped that. You know, he's got to put in performances like this every week now for the next 2 years to get it back and that kind of
I
stuff.
know, but right. So everybody loves Yerry Mina.
Yeah.
3 years.
I'm an Iwobi fan. I
Football.
like Iwobi. I think his best position is in the middle. I think he's doing a job
I
out
like him
wide
in the 8.
because his defensive work is outstanding. But I think he needs to get back into the middle a little bit sometimes.
Do you think as well? Everything for every bit more you give in, putting back, it takes away from your game going forward.
It does.
Completely
Yeah,
does.
does.
Completely does.
Yeah.
You remember Ronaldo? Now, I'm not comparing them as players by any means, but do you remember Ronaldo at United under Ferguson towards the end? Now the ball could have been being dribbled past him by the centre halves, and he wasn't even putting in a challenge. He did not waste a fibre of energy trying to collect that ball.
Yeah.
That was not his job, and he would not do it. If anything, that was the downfall of Wayne Rooney. Wayne Rooney was his donkey. He did the donkey work for Ronaldo to shine.
He did, yeah.
So, actually, that whole fucking team just all worked around it for him, and he used every ounce of his energy to attack. Now, I'm not saying that is for Iwobi. I'm just saying, in theory, if you aren't, if you're putting 100% on the attacking, you're going to see all that great attacking work. You're going to see 0 in defense. For every percentage that you pull back in the defensive, it takes away. There's only 100% there to work with. You move the bar. So it's what Alex Iwobi do you want, but ultimately, as us Everton fans, I don't know why you lose sleep and want to hit your head off a wall over it, because it's what Sean Dyche wants. He's Sean Dyche's mainstay now on that side and that work. So Sean Dyche is getting what he wants. I would not be surprised if that's up to Sean Dyche to commission to get. Sean Dyche will take on Alex Iwobi. I believe that. I think Iwobi's the least of his problems.
I think so. Yeah. Another one who you mentioned before, Abdoulaye Doucouré, is set for a new deal as well. Again, not sure how long that would be for, but ideally, in my opinion, you would say maybe a 1-year extension to what he's already got, and just see how that goes. Because as Andrew pointed out on the last podcast, he does get injured a lot, Doucouré, and we're seeing running form now. But Gray, what do you think? How long do you think you should give him a new deal for?
Well, it's that club option, isn't it? When he signed that 1-year extension, that's the club's option. So I assume now, because he's had 2 good games, 2 or 3 or 4 good games, whatever it is, and the majority's eyes, not my eyes. I'm not a Doucouré fan. That they will take it up, but then everybody's bigging Doucouré up for a couple of good performances. But again, they'll just slide and piss over Iwobi. Realistically, Doucouré's massively inconsistent. Yes, he didn't get to play his own game under Ancelotti. Then coming after that, then he's been underwhelming. He had a brief spell under the start of Rafa Benitez's, and then that metatarsal, I think it's his metatarsal, keeps breaking, isn't it? So he had a reoccurrence of that injury, and it takes a while to get going. But there's just inconsistencies, be it with injury or form. The guy has Lukaku's old shin pads. He can't control a ball a lot of the time when it's fizzed into him. But then some moments of absolute brilliance too, where I'm talking about moments of absolute calamity. Sometimes he can do really good things with the ball. He's finding something that really works for him now, in this number 8 role. You've been nearly bold enough to say it's nearly like becoming a Tim Cahill, because he's finding himself firing himself for headers everywhere, but he just seems to be he's occupying that 10 area. Let's not try and reinvent the wheel.
Onto the edge of the box,
but there's Andrew just back from the Matrix. But ultimately, he is, just the way he's arriving late in that box and stuff. I think we've been missing that sort of player in that mold, and the fact he's got that height and presence, that's the only reason I like it. That's albeit Cahill didn't have that height, but by fuck did he make up for it with presence. So look, at the end of the day as well, how much is he going to be to replace? I said this on a previous pod. It's all well and good. Like, I give the guy shit because I just feel the need to give him shit, really. But ultimately, he could do better in a lot of things. But that whole, is the grass always greener on the other side? Who would we bring in, and would it be another period of someone adjusting? No, just where, if someone can add value to something that we're doing I think as shit as we are, unless we can vastly improve, and it's near enough a guaranteed improvement because there is no guarantees in football, that we should be looking to keep things. I think Decore for an extra year, probably in the same wage, is a smart move. Just as the way I say Alex Iwobi, maybe a couple of extra. Well, it's probably going to be an extra 30 grand or something a week, albeit, but it's in their footballing budget. If they can pull the strings, play with their abacus and work it out, where we can pay that, then that still keeps us cool here and there and there. Tom Davies is leaving, so realistically, will probably be getting his wages.
Yeah.
So and Davies came in for free, he'll be leaving for free. So, well, he came through for free, should I say? So, are we worse off losing Decore and Iwobi as we would be losing other players? No. So I would just say, yeah, I'd happily have the two of them.
Yeah. It's about
happily have one of them and reluctantly have the other. We'll just say.
Yeah, definitely. It's just about protecting assets. As
that's
much
it.
as
that's we
as much
have
as
to,
we don't rate them, they are assets. Yeah.
We're working out of jars of money here at this club, like, and we're throwing it around, budgeting as best we can. You know.
Yeah.
And that's how it has to be. It's smart moves, the right moves. They're not always the desired moves or the glamorous. You know, the only thing that's worrying is the fact that our owner loves glamorous. So
if this was Football Manager, you just delete players like that. You just release them. But unfortunately, this isn't Football Manager.
If I was in my Football Manager days, when I would spend like 38 hours in bed playing Football Manager, Decore would be scoring about 38 goals from midfield right now with my management. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. It's it's a strange one. Decore, he can have some brilliant days, and then other days he just looks like a League One player. It's just weird. Andrew, talking about Decore there, mate, and giving him a new deal, would you offer him an extension, Decore, or just let him go?
Depends on the pot that we have available in the summer. If we have anything, then I would say let him go. Wrong side of 30, kind of a form player. Like when he's on, he's very on. When he's off, he's infuriating.
Yeah.
And I don't think we can afford that in the midfield.
No, I think Andrew, though, it's a club extension right under his contract. So it's that, you know, they can just say, right, your contract is now 4 years. I don't think there's to be any altering in his wages or anything like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No. Just the wages that he's on. I think he's 100 plus right now.
I think he's about 110,
yeah. So that combined with kind of an injury prone foot and runs of form that go here and there. And when they're off, he tends to
massively inconsistent.
Yeah.
Also the fact that, sorry, mate, go on.
He's a good player when he's on.
Yeah.
I just think he finds those runs of form kind of sporadically.
Yeah, definitely. And not to mention as well, like we've seen what happened under Lampard. If he doesn't get on with a manager, he will just stop and down tools. So is that going to happen with Dyche at some point? You know what I mean? Is he going to?
Has it not sort of came out in the whispers though that it's not a case of he wasn't happy and down tools, but maybe he did, but
he was trying to send us a message about Lampard essentially.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, but he was the target then. But yeah, play for your team.
Even so,
if you don't only play for your manager, you still play for your team, and you play for the fans, your teammate and your fans. You know, so.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, Decore, I would give him an extension, maybe 12 months, and just see if he can stay fit and whatever, and then just adjust it like at the end of that and just whatever. But I think he's a decent squad player. I don't think he should be starting every single game. I think we need better in there. But so it's just a case of keeping hold of them and getting better and adding to that. But again,
but what's to say though, John? Sorry, just
go on.
But what's to say though that he is like Dyche has talked about? He admired him from afar at years of Burnley as a player he would have loved. He has that player that he wanted. You see how Decore is growing in confidence and flourishing under Dyche. There's no other way to put it.
Yeah.
There probably is quite a few ways, and it's probably a lot tamer than flourishing. But I can't think of another word. But why not? Like, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Why not though? Why can't he be that level of because we're not going to storm up the league and we're not going to do Leicester. We're not going to be like Brentford or you know the way that they are this year. next season. I don't imagine it should be the case because every manager should be aiming for that title first game of the season, 100%. And they should always be looking to do better. But if you were to sort of throw it in some random predictor where next season where would we finish, I'd be looking to challenging towards conference, challenging, not getting it, challenging.
Yeah.
But if we're challenging, I want it. But Decore is that level to play at an 8, I would imagine, on this form. Like you've seen where we are in the form table since Dyche came in. We're in what it would be like sixth in the league or something.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
So that graphic was all over Twitter. So again, the numbers aren't lying. As I've told you, I don't enjoy watching Dyche ball that much. I really don't. But when it clicks, it is good to watch. The problem is you're waiting for it. It's like waiting for a storm. But when the storm happens, it's wonderful. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's going to get better. We've spoken about this team are currently on an active pre-season, mid-season.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? While competing. So why not? He might be that. I just think that we're better on that gamble.
Yeah, pretty much, mate. Since in March anyway, Decore's played 4 games. He's got 2 goals and 2 assists. So that's pretty nice. Like that's nice numbers for Decore. So yeah, long may it continue, and then we'll be giving him a lot of praise at the end of the season. If he can do performances like that from now until the end of the season, that'd be well worth his wages. But coming on to the best news of the day, then, in my opinion, Neal Maupay could leave Everton in the summer. Andrew, I'll start with you, mate. A team in Italy called Salernitana wanted him in January. And Fabrizio, I'm not sure what he means by this, but he says Everton got the deal done in January, then changed coach. So maybe he's thinking about, he's hinting at the fact that he was promised more game time, and then we changed coaches in January or whatever. But either way, mate, we spent £8 million on Maupay, and it looks like I don't think we'll recoup that. So are you glad to see him go regardless of how much we lose on him?
Bon voyage.
Yep. That's it. There's nothing else to say. Just let him go.
Well, there's plenty. You could say Arrivederci, but if it's going to be Italy. But I think Maupay, well, this is where you see a player maybe with a decent team around him, because nobody wanted to deal with Everton in the summer. It was all the talk, it was coming out of all the unofficial club sources and things like that, all that good stuff, all that shock and panic sort of things being leaked out. They drive us all wild. But no, Maupay came, and we all tried to give him. He's usually a striker since he's been in the Premier League. He was scoring between 8 and 12 goals, I think, a season. I think this season at Everton has now done him a serious harm in terms of career profile, because people weren't that mad on him. People were quite shocked, being on Neal Maupay for Everton. He's so yeah, he scored 1 goal this season at West Ham at the start of the season.
Yep.
And he looked absolutely off it.
Yep.
Most games since. So we praise him coming on and winding up Zinchenko. That's his highlight reel. That and the goal against West Ham, which is quite sad, because he seems a nice kid. Like he seems all right, but I think his team are just saying, right, your time in the Premier League's done. You sort of went. You drank from the dirty water that is Everton, and you know what? It has. It spoiled your guts, and no one wants to touch you there now. You're not getting any offers from a Premier League team. You can get into Serie A. You can still play top level football, but in a different country. Yeah. And it's just a case of cut the losses. You don't want to be another player that's hanging around that club to be in and out. So,
yeah, definitely.
I think best of luck to him. And I hope it goes to Swift, and we'll probably take a loss. He'd probably go for something like 5 million, but what? Better that than free in how many years?
Yeah, if we can get something back on him, that will be nice. But again, just highlights the fact that what is a Neal Maupay? What's he doing at Everton? You know what I mean? It's who signed off on that? Was it Thelwell? Because we still don't know. Was it Lampard?
I've actually read about that. Apparently, Frank was a very old school type guy. Didn't like looking at stats or player profile. It was just kind of like vibes.
Yeah,
and that's he liked what Maupay had to offer just from feeling, truly.
Just vibes, yeah.
It's terrifying.
I think he played every single game under Lampard, and then as Andrew, you said the other day, mate, he could have scored in the derby and should have scored in the derby, and maybe we'd have been thinking different about him. But at the same time, he still doesn't fit. I don't get it. It's a weird.
Matty Pennington scored in a derby at Anfield, and he's always been shit.
Yeah,
but ultimately too.
But maybe we'd wish him well instead of telling him to F off. Do you know what I mean?
Wish him well, but it's not a case of like, what is Maupay? There's a player there that comes back to systems and style. We bought a player that does not suit the style that our crowd wants, our team needs.
That's what I mean.
Just does not. Like, you're putting square pegs in round holes, and that's completely what he was. Yeah, completely like a target man, any sort of target man. Like, you look at a Marcus Bent. When he came, he was just an energetic forward that came. He didn't score very many goals, but you know what? Yeah. He spread defenses for us to get goals from all areas. Mm-hmm. He assisted the team. Maupay does not do anything to assist the team, and that is something he can do. So whether he's being coached wrong, which I'm not surprised under Frank Lampard, but then Sean Dyche came in, who seems a very back to basics manager with all these guys. These guys all have maybe 5 jobs, we sort of maybe so many key indicators that they have to achieve in a match, be it close down, tackles, pressures, all this sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. And the numbers are there. He keeps talking about it, and discipline and all that. He just does not have the minerals to do it under Dyche. And he didn't have the coach to help him bed in under Lampard. Yeah. So them guys are here for a payday, let's face it.
Yeah. It's a weird one. Just doesn't fit at all. And even Lampard's been trying to use him as like a big man, even though he's obviously 5'5" or whatever the hell he is. He's been trying to play him that way. And at one point, he'd just say, "Listen, I will run to the byline and spread the play. I'll run into the channels and stuff, and I'll do that. But I'm not going to be the target man." You've got to turn around at some point and say, "Look, that's not me." You know what I mean?
But look what Damari Gray is doing. Look what Damari Gray is doing under Dyche. Mm-hmm. Neil Maupay had half the energy and the touch he'd be doing what Gray's doing, because Gray is just pulling out and the team's pressing as a whole. And it's the team, and that's how we're squeezing up. Mm-hmm. And people are occupying areas in the box, and balls are being whipped in. Mm-hmm. Nothing was being done. Like whacking balls. It was the Forest game that I was screaming. No, not the Forest game. It was the volley game this season. I was screaming in your ear the whole game. You actually had to tell me to shut up. But it's like, and Shane, thank God, Shane seen the same thing too. It was just like Neil kept hitting high balls on them. Yep. And as soon as he gets slung, he was hitting them low. Yep. Why did we not play in a system where we were just slapping balls in across the box, and Maupay was just throwing his body at them to get a touch to ping something on the goal? Yep. Again, you just wonder, are they overcomplicating things? Football's not a hard game. I know it is at that level, but I don't give a shit. For my theory, it's not. Why can't they just play simple to people's strengths? Play for where you are. None of us want to be here. It just honestly, as every day goes past, I'm getting back to how I felt about Lampard when he scored that goal against us, because you know what? I did fall in love with a man that did. And I says after Lampard, now I refuse to have a love story with an Everton manager unless he does something amazing. Yeah, definitely. Lampard, absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. Mm-hmm. Yes, he kept us up, but did he do? A lot of things went in our favour, and it was. I don't think he did.
If anything, I think we'd have stayed up if we didn't have a manager, because of the way the fans were, and Richarlison and Calvin did fit in the running and stuff like that. So exactly. But with Maupay, I do wonder.
Frank Lampard had a 40,000 strong coaching staff. Yeah. And everybody in the stands that dictates the team and picks the squad and does all this, that, and the other. And people in the game, the professionals and the pundits, they'll sit and say, "Oh, well, if it's that easy, you get it and done it." Well, them fans did it. They showed, right, well, the only way we can motivate a team, we'll do it, and we'll drive them on. What the coaching staff should be doing anyway, that's what they're paid to do, and they did it. Mm-hmm. And then the team pushed through via that atmosphere. When the coach is saying, "Oh, that the fans again, they got us that one over the line." As fans at the time, it's euphoric, and you're like, "This is amazing," and that ecstasy of being involved in that sense. But in hindsight, you sort of stop and you look around, you say, "Shouldn't have to." Yeah, that's your job. Why are
Absolutely.
you praising? We should be praising. You should be saying, yeah, the fans were good, but that was all down to me and my tactics, and break it down as to how you won that game.
Yeah.
I feel like Andrew disagrees.
I don't disagree that like Frank's tactics and whatnot kept us up per se. There were some games where it seemed like he really had it down. It was probably just luck that Brentford and Leeds were in shit form at that moment. However, we were in such a shit morale state because of the Rafa experience, and he was exactly what we needed for those 6 months to reunify the players with the fan base. Now, post June, he should have fucked all the way off. We now hindsight's 2020, but he was exactly the type of character that we needed to unfuck the damage that Mashiri had done by signing Rafa.
Yeah, definitely. We were clinging on to it.
Yeah, but at the same time too, I just fuck him.
Yeah, with Maupay as well. It's what I will say is that I don't know if he would work better or play better or contribute more with his goals and assists in a 2 up top, because we haven't even seen it. We haven't seen it once. Maybe he would.
We're not capable of playing with 3 or playing with 2 in midfield.
No, we're not.
Andrew's touched on that a few times.
If you look at the game the other day, and we spoke about it, like we were down, and he took, I can't remember who he took off. It was a Gay he took off against Chelsea, and he brings on Sims, and you're thinking that's a positive substitution there when we needed it. Maupay could do it if you just throw him on up top with Sims maybe, or with Gray. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. We haven't even seen it, but if he's going to go at the end of the season, it doesn't matter anyway. But
yeah,
it's
we need a playmaker for him to be like viable. And like if James came back, like okay, he'll score because we'll get these magical through balls that he can jump on. But that's it's literally got to be miraculous right now. We're not good enough on the ball to make touches in the box happen enough for him to score.
Yeah, definitely. So just about what we can get back for him then. So just moving on then, and we're talking about Dyche now because Bag Full of Toffee hit the podcast up with a nice article that he wrote actually about the change in mentality under Dyche, especially after that Chelsea draw there at Stamford Bridge, where we came from behind twice to get something out of the game, which was really nice to see. But Graham, it got me thinking, mate, we haven't really seen this positive mentality from the club to get back, especially at somewhere like Stamford Bridge, which is we're notorious for not getting a result at times there. Do you think we're seeing a change in mentality under Dyche, a shift in a positive way?
Well, although it was slamming Frank Lampard there, the last great reverse of the course of a game was against Crystal Palace at the end of last season. But what I will say is that it was a fans and that was a freak occurrence. I think in regards to this was coached. This was Dyche, where his positive changes, and yes, you could say Lampard made positive changes. I mean, forget that performance, but how he changed it and the way he's coached those players and installed belief where they can just drive and push. And it was freaking. And people can talk about the goals and say, well, that they were soft to this, that, and the other. You still have to put it back in the back of the net. How many teams are praised for beating us and all their goals are soft? That we probably basically kicked in the net ourselves. So I think there is a turnaround. I think we're all aboard the Dyche train. We're all just sitting and coach. We're not getting excited and moving to first class or anything. But I think again, there's touches of an identity. I just pray Calvert-Lewin can get back, and hopefully he's back for Spurs as well. And I hope that him and Sims can start training alongside each other, so Sims can start seeing what he needs to bring more and more to be more of an option. And basically let Calvert-Lewin mentor him. But I think it's great that we're starting to see fight back. And again, that whole first goal is the winner, against Everton sort of thing, because we were never going to score more than one. Well, now we're starting to get goals from we're talking about we can't score from everywhere. We're starting to get goals now, spread out. So that's we're hitting that form. We're sort of in that bottom half now, and of all the relegation teams, I think that we're the best out of them. I think form wise, I would say so. I'm going by that graphic saying that we're sixth in the league. since Dyche came on
to
perform. So I just think that's all very, very positive. I really do. So yeah, I just hope that there's more to come, because it's nice to see us, that if we go down, it's nice to see that we're not out. Like when we were conceding there for so long this season, and Jesus, it was painful. If we conceded, we were just like, we're done.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? So no, it's a serious positive.
Yeah, it really is. I'm one of those who thought, like, at 1-0 down, that's it, we're done. Stamford Bridge, they're going to score 3-4. But no, to see that attitude is just really nice. It's actually in this article here from Bagful of Toffee, he talks about a defeatist culture at the club that's been rotting away and eating away at the club for years, especially on the road. When you think about Roberto Martinez's season and the nice season that he had, I think we only had 5 away victories all season there, even though as good as a season that was. So, yeah, Andrew, it's nice to see that we're going in the right direction as far as coming back from the dead kind of thing.
Yeah, it's very possible we're moving in the right direction in that regard. You see, like, the players' body language. You don't have the heads dropping like when we normally concede after a mistake.
Yeah.
And it's just, that's a wrap on it. I remember when I first started watching Everton, Marco Silva looked like a broken man if we went 1-0 down. You could just, everything sank. And Frank kind of had the same thing. It just really, we're not great poker faces, where I don't think Dyche has that option to not be super and still have his lads, that kind of thing. But that being said, 2 of our goals have come from moderately miraculous situations. Like the XG on Coleman's shot is probably hilarious. I can't imagine it's like more than 0.02 from the one that he scored. And then Sims working his way free, and then Kepa having weak wrists. I mean, that's statistically not unlikely, I suppose. But those 2 goals were pretty special and not really play for the most part. So I'm not going to get too optimistic yet, but it does seem like we're not letting ourselves die mentally.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was, I don't know if it was Tarkowski or Decore after the Chelsea game. They said they were very confident about getting something from that free kick when we scored. I think they were, like, they'd been practicing so much that it was just going to land on Tarkowski's head, and Decore said he knew exactly where it was going to be after that. So it's nice to see that we've got a bit of a plan in that situation.
A coaching, Jesus, they've needed it.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah. Under Ancelotti, guess how many away wins we got under Ancelotti? We got 11 away wins in one season there. Yeah.
Made it there, 11.
Yeah, which is just outstanding. So I'm going to call Dyche Gingelotti from now on. And
and how many home wins under Ancelotti?
Well, that's something else. I will never ever disrespect the GOAT, in my opinion, and come at me, because I think he was tremendous at Everton. But
you're going to get it in the comments again. Talking about Ancelotti.
Yeah, the Godfather.
I love him.
Moving on then. Apparently, Everton are looking at the 2 strikers that they've looked at for this summer is Tammy Abraham and Victor Gyökeres. Either move is dependent on survival. But if you had to choose between Abraham and Gyökeres, Andrew, which one would you choose, if any?
I would say Abraham's a great shout. I would also consider Daryl Dike to throw a wrench in there. He's been scoring pretty consistently both for Barnsley and West Brom at the championship level. He's very physical, but he is also kind of injury prone. So yeah, natural replacement for Dom. No problem. I just think you can't really mess with the mold of the poaching finisher right now. The fox in the box. So yeah, I would say Abraham. Well, when Dom had his really awesome season, Abraham was kind of a discount DCL for Chelsea at that time. So I think he's a natural replacement. Yeah,
I think it would be nice. Yeah. But you know what? I'm just glad it's in a nice profile, because Maupay isn't in this Again, I'm just going on with the Maupay hate train. But, Graham, who would you choose, Abraham or Gyökeres?
Maupay. Leave the man alone, John. I think our squad needs both.
Yeah.
We'll not get both. I don't even think we'll get either of them. But yeah, we need both. We need different profiles of strikers that can be effective. We need a target man. We need someone who can play off the striker. Abraham can do it all right. Where I've seen him, like, yeah. Again, in the box, we need someone who can finish.
Yeah.
But like, we should have got Abraham before I went to Roma when he was available. That's when we should have moved for him.
Yep.
Says the other day when you sit in the link, I says I'm fed up being linked to Tammy Abraham because we're not going to get him
every year.
But like his profile now is at Roma. That's regardless of what you think of Serie A and Roma. That just adds a different profile, I think. So your destination can be a bit better in their eyes. Again,
we did just win that Conference League thing with them last year, though.
Yeah, yeah. So and you know he's hard working anyway because Mourinho loves him. So, but yeah, and have either Gyökeres as well, him as well. I think that we should have just broke the bank and got him. He's scored a few nice goals since. But look, shoulda, woulda, coulda. Here's what you could have won. Again, not to be miserable or bring down the point. I'm going to try not to get excited and buy in. Again, it's going back to that whole. I'm not going to believe that player signed until he's holding the top and talking about how.
Even then, it's still a doubt with Danjuma.
Hey.
Even then, it's still a doubt with Danjuma.
Yeah, even at that, yes.
So. Unless he's played the game.
One thing I will say is, do you see when we play Spurs, I don't believe in bullying players. I don't think it's nice, but I think that we should bully this player. I think that regardless if give him shit, and people say if you give him shit, he'll score then and give it back. Good, take that gamble, roll the dice, because you know what? Even if he does have a good night, make him suffer for what he done. Even regardless, just give him absolute death.
Yeah,
really, because he probably will get on too.
Mm-hmm.
Conte, I think if it is Mason to the end of the season, like I think Mason might be like, go out and show them what they're missing.
Yeah.
Hopefully he's a stinker and he gets absolutely slammed. So yeah, just give him death, please.
Yep, definitely.
If he scores anything less than a brace, I will be astonished.
Typical Everton. Yep. And I think out of the two of them, I'd pick Abraham because he's done it on a bigger level than what Gyökeres has. That Europa Conference thing, I think he was crucial in that. So, but it's whether or not, look, he'd probably just take one look at Everton and go, are you taking the piss? Why would I even consider that? Do you know what I mean? But
exactly, yeah. Is he going to buy into that project? But again, if we're whittled down to two strikers, and I know it's just ones that are leaked, then surely Thelwell must be looking at something else.
Yeah, you'd hope so.
You would like to hope that there's other names there. There better be a pull where if you get to the point where Maupay is, it better be if they're saying that he was our sixth choice striker, oh look, Andrew's holding Lee. You would like to hope that it's a case of there's better than Maupay at maybe the sixth, seventh striker option, because it's going to be hard. Again, like we sit and compare. Like Shane was in the chat the other day chatting about Tierney and stuff from our. Why the fuck would we go for Tierney? No harm to you, Shane. But like again, I was sick. I couldn't reply. That's what I wanted to write. Why do you look at this field? You've got a world full of professional footballers. Just this, Thelwell, I'm sorry, this massive, so many key point plan to get things right. Good. It's over a year. I would expect you've ticked the majority of them boxes. You've hired over 20 people. I hope some of them are scouts. You have brought on, his name escapes me now, the head scout now from Brighton, or the guy who's now our head scout, who was like assistant to the head scout or whatever it is. I don't really care.
Yeah.
But I'm expecting them guys to all come on with their own black books, because they keep talking about it in scouting. If you're going to be doing something, you keep your ear to the ground. You should be knowing what's coming next. The same in music. If you're a band manager or something, you're always looking at, even if you don't know the industry. I've been involved in the industry, but like, even if it's a case of you're watching a movie and this guy's always got his ear for the next thing. You assume these scouts would always be doing their own homework.
Yeah.
Think if I ever go here, these are the players I can get and bring in. to do this, that, and the other. They would suit that level. They would suit this. One of my biggest issues with Thelwell, he should have had a fucking list the length of his arm of players in the MLS who could come in and do a job at a low fee, or in the Mexican League, or in South America. And there's been none of it.
No.
McNeil and fucking Neil Maupay. You know.
It's not good enough.
Yes, Onana, but we still paid massively for him. You know what I mean? So he wasn't this sort of $4 million gem out of Honduras or from Canada or something mental like that, you know. And I'm not saying they all have to be that. You should have something. You should have something in your locker to pull this player. Like, where the hell did you get him? You know what I mean? Yeah. So, you know, I'm refusing to quote Brighton here. You know,
it's impossible at the moment.
But you know what I'm saying? You have to be able to look, you know, and hard work. You know, the proof will show. Your hard work will show in the proof. So, and the proof I've been getting hasn't looked like hard work. Yeah. So Wolves better have some undervalued wonder kid to save it next year. No farewell.
Everton just, you know, go to the supermarket and wait for the reduced section and wait till it's
still lose the fight with Granny.
Yeah.
Granny exactly. Beat the better broccoli.
Yeah, shocking. Well, moving on then to a bit of fantasy with Everton then, because I like to think about what if Messi played for the Spanish national team, he'd have won everything, do you know what I mean? But here's another one. Lukaku is in limbo at the moment. It looks like he's being sent back from Inter Milan to Chelsea, and with them signing obviously the whole of Europe in the last window, I don't think he'll feature much in the future. So at 29 years of age, Andrew, would you take Lukaku back at Everton, and could Dyche do something with him?
I mean, you look at Sims' last goal there. That was very peak Lukaku-esque. The issue is, does Lukaku have peak Lukaku in him anymore? Does he give a shit? I mean, he was so happy at Inter. He loved it there. Could not stop praising the experience, the life, the team, etc. And now that's soured again. So no, this fickle version of him, probably not.
Yeah.
Plus, he'd be expensive as fuck.
Yeah, he would actually. Yeah, he would. He was actually slagging Chelsea off while he was on loan. He wasn't even like on a full transfer, just on loan. But
yeah, he's like the Antonio Conte of players right now.
Yeah, he is. No case, but yeah, it's Graham. He's still only 29, so he's still got something to give if he can get in shape. But that's a big if, isn't it?
If you can play to Romelu Lukaku's strengths and he can get him on form, he's a fucking animal. Anyone says like prime. This is the thing though, people will all judge Lukaku and try to tell me about Lukaku isn't this and he's that and the other United fans stuff. They don't realize Everton had the best version of Lukaku.
I think he would say that. Fucking
animal. He was brilliant for us, and just because he didn't close things down, people gave him shit and hated him. And you know what? That's your prerogative. Might have fucking threw a shoe at him a couple of times myself. Lukaku was fucking brilliant. So yes, I would have him. But again, should we be looking for a prima donna 29-year-old that can't hold down a spot somewhere or can't pitch a tent and be happy with his foundations, you know, because it's crazy. Again, go find me a South American,
the next Lukaku,
legged wonder kid hybrid freak thing that can score goals or anything. I don't know, just do
Blanca from Street Fighter, I hear. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Just do some sort of somersault, smash the ball into the net. But you know, realistically, I don't care who we get, but my patience is thin enough with this club. I have no faith in the board. I've always been very skeptical of Thelwell, which Lee absolutely loves to laugh at, and he doesn't. I don't think he gets why I get so angry with them. I just look at that. You don't have to be a football scout to understand it. You just look at how it's managed. If you have any idea on how things are managed, you just sort of look and say, right, are all these things in the right place? Okay, no, they weren't, but is this mad point plan to fix the club? Yeah. Right, okay. But he's a scout. So who are his gems? He should have had gems to come on with. He should have had some ideas. And for me, they weren't good. And if they are his ideas that they did bring in, not good enough. And you can't throw 20 million at Neil Maupay and Dwight McNeil and not have other options. I mean, McNeil's been playing fantastically under Dyche and brilliant and happy days, but he was not bought as a Dyche player.
No, that's true.
Like a Lampard player.
I suppose
playing the right.
Yeah.
You know, and he would have sat, and Thelwell and Lampard were these great chums apparently. So,
Yep.
you know, would you not be sitting down with your mate having a beer, talking about what a great week? We're 15th in the league. You know, yes, this is brilliant. And you know what, McNeil, are you sure you're playing the right? Oh, it's the best place for him, mate. All right, okay. No. So you know, director of football should be directing what's going on the pitch. That's not the systems we're playing. So all these wee factors eat at my brain. You know what I'm like, John? It just needs to pull a thread, hey, and the whole castle collapses. But as Shane would say, just over emotional. So be it. But do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're not lucky with McNeil. McNeil was about to be another Maupay. You know, if Maupay was a Burnley player, we'd be seeing the best of him right now.
Yeah.
No, there's all fine margins here. So I don't care who we get on. But love Lukaku.
What I would say is, like, as far as
I had to cough there, didn't I?
No, go on.
But ultimately, we need to find just a system. You know, I'm not going to have much faith in this guy if I see another disjointed team next year. Realistically, I don't care what the budget is. There'll be something. They'll sell, and there'll be something. You still sell your best asset and bring in things to improve a club. You can. So, yeah, no, I'll just wait and see.
Yeah.
And I'll do my research on whoever it is if I don't know them, or I'll firmly make an opinion if I do know them, and we'll go from there.
I suppose a lot of people would say on Twitter, like, in regards to Thelwell, well, he did look at Mudryk and he did look at Kudus. He just couldn't get it over the line. But in my opinion, that's part of the job.
It's a job. Again, for the January transfer window. Oh, we did all we could, and this is what we had, and we only had Danjuma just to come in, and that collapsed, but it was there. But that doesn't matter. That's your job to get it over the line.
Well, we were talking about last summer, not in January. This was ages ago.
Exactly. It's not a case of contract Dave was in the bogs and we couldn't get him out in time. It's not a case of that. That's all collectively your job.
Yeah.
You 6 months or 4 months or whatever it was to prepare for that, and you didn't do anything. It's not good enough. It's just not.
You're telling me we couldn't have got one of them after selling Richarlison?
No, you should have got someone from Wolves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You couldn't do anything. Anything.
Your head would have well and truly fell off then. Another Wolves guy. Jesus.
Fuck. I would have lost the absolute plot there. But no, look, ultimately, just I don't have a lot of faith in the guy. I've been stating that since the summer, as you know. And come party on the Thelwell out train. I've been riding since July, and you're more than welcome.
Yep, we'll have to wait and see what happens. See what he does in the summer, and
can't wait.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, that's the weekly news there. And Graham, Andrew, thank you for joining me. Also, let us know on Twitter, you know, if there's anything you'd like us to touch on that we've missed, and we can mention in the next episode. We will do. And also let us know what you think of this podcast as well. Give us the feedback. We like feedback. Graham loves feedback. Do you know what I mean? So give it to us, and we'll take it on board. And but yeah, Graham, Andrew, thank you for joining me, and we'll see you in the next one.